Ladies and gentlemen, it is the big dance. It is the crescendo of what has been an epic Super League season. We're heading into the grand final, and this is our prediction show. It's the only prediction show on the internet that counts, in our opinion.
Yeah, Craig, it's Wigan Hull KR, repeat of last year's grand final. I can't wait for this one. Let's get stuck into it. Before we get started onto this week's episode, just let you know that it's sponsored by Pavida Teamwear, which is available at yourclubstash.co.uk.
Pavida are a UK-based emerging teamwear company. They have a 2 to 4 week turnaround with bespoke designs, many of which are Polynesian. They provided these shirts, of which we absolutely love them. You can get a full store, everything from wooden spoons to your full kit and everything in between. So check them out if you're in the market for new club stash.
The link is in the description below. Check them out. It's yourclubstash.co.uk.
Right, I can't believe how quick this has come about, but it's obviously a massively mouth-watering game in prospect. Let's just talk a little bit about the route to the grand final. The two semi-finals we've had this weekend, two great games. Both pretty much played out how we expected them to play out. We got Wigan beat Leigh, I would say, relatively convincingly, which is a bit of a shame. We expected a little bit more from Leigh.
I think you can both throw both these games under the same umbrella and kind of say we kind of got what we expected. We had two teams who went into it as favourites. I think Leigh versus Wigan was the one that was a little bit more intrigue involved. But Wigan proved their worth, and they were the much stronger team on the day.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, both teams went in, 5 wins out of the last 6, but Wigan now made it 6 from the last 6. Leigh obviously bows out. Bit of a class, like Bevan French masterclass. I think he was just outstanding, 1 or 2 tries.
Yeah, I mean, both sides I thought very equally matched, but then sometimes you've just got. So one team's got that little sprinkling of extra talent that Wigan had in that game, who turn up on big occasions, by the way. I think that is the big factor there. And yeah, Ben French, he was absolutely brilliant, and he was the difference between the two sides. Let's call it as it was.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, yeah, Jai Field, I think, had a couple of influential moments where he cut down Owen Trout on that little last-ditch tackle to stop Owen Trout from scoring. It would have been different if the try that was chalked off at the start of the game had stood. I mean, not a lot of evidence as to whether he got the ball down, but it could have been very different there.
It was one of them where if the referee makes a different call on the field, then the video referee's forced to make a different decision. I think that sort of went down to. But yeah, it was what it was. Yeah, I just thought Wigan was the stronger.
And moving on to the second game, then Hull KR took on Saints. Saints, rode their luck a little bit. I think they definitely overachieved a little bit this season. Got themselves to the semi-final, beating Leeds. Obviously, came up against Hull KR, and Hull KR just, I don't want to say bullied them, but they didn't really struggle, did they?
No, you got what you expect from Hull KR playing at home in front of that big crowd. Saints put up a strong performance, but they were never really in the game, were they? Yeah, or they never really looked like they were going to win the game, should I say?
Yeah, just as they've all been. I think some of the Sky pundits sort of said, look, they work hard. You can't deny they work hard, but winning games requires more than that in the modern day era, and they're just missing that little bit of an X factor or a way to win the game.
And I suppose, like while I was just talking about St Helens, we think now that was potentially Paul Whelan's last game in charge of St Helens. He's not going to be given a new contract. Do you think he got the best out of his side this year? Make it to a semi-final. What were they? 8 points away from Hull KR. Do you think he got the best out of that team?
Yeah, I think at the start of the season they said, look, obviously we want to be at the grand final, but they made their way to the semi-final after some disappointing results. I think it probably has overachieved.
So do you think it was down to recruitment at the start of the season, or do you think it was... No, what you're saying is you think he's done all right with the team that he had?
Yeah, I think he's got some aged players now. There's some of his key players are knocking on a bit. Yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. I think he's just hit a level, and his coaching and whether it's inspiration of the team, getting that team working together and the shapes that they're throwing and all that kind of thing. I think he's just, I just don't think he had enough to take them further. So it'd be interesting to see who comes in and what they do with that team and what changes they make.
Libriers?
Potentially.
Paul Rowley?
Paul Rowley would be outstanding, wouldn't it?
I think Paul Rowley, I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up with the job.
Really?
Yeah, well, if you look around at what coaches are available at the minute, for me, Paul Rowley's like one of the top coaches in Super League. And he's done wonders with teams on low budgets. I think, and you only need to listen. Did you hear him at the York Toulouse game? He speaks so well. He's so insightful. He sees things that other people don't see. I often listen to Paul Rowley in an interview, and he pulls something out. I go, hey, I didn't quite think of that. And I consider myself to know rugby league quite well, but he thinks differently. I think he'd be a great coach for St Helens.
Right, okay, well, we'll wait and see. Right, on to the big dance, as we called it then, at Old Trafford. It's the grand final. Hull KR taking on Wigan Warriors. Hull KR, 4 games, 4 wins from the last 6. Wigan, clean sheet, 6 wins from the last 6. Kicks off at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a belter, Cal.
If we look back at the start of the season, and I can't remember who we picked, which 2 teams do you think were favourite to make the grand final?
I think these two, a repeat of last year's grand final was the most likely course of action. Like I said, we've been around the boys a little bit to get here. We weren't confirmed until the very last minute. But I think these are the 2 top teams in Super League, and it's exciting.
So, like, you had Hull KR last year, who had a great run. It was like their let's call it their breakout season. They all the ducks started aligning last year. They had an incredible season.
All the geese. That's wrong Hull, mate.
Wrong Hull, yeah. And so they made the final. Didn't quite have enough to get it over the line. They then strengthened in off-season, didn't they? They brought in like JWH, although he's not playing this week.
Well, we don't know yet, but he's been given a grade C charge from the match review, the match official. So unlikely, I think.
They'll have to challenge it, won't they? Which is a little bit of a shame to say it's his last game. Anyway, Hull KR, they had a great season last year. They strengthened the team this year. Wigan, on the other hand, they don't really bring anybody in. I mean, I suppose when you're at the top of the game and you've cleared up every trophy, you're looking at your team and it's like, do we need to bring anybody in? And I think they kind of just went, not really. They're just stuck with what they were used to. And
well, they were making big, long signings, 6-year deals and stuff like that. They were just locking players in for years, weren't they?
So to me, it's no surprise that we have ended up with Hull KR and Wigan in the final. Like I say, the 2 best sides this year, and even if you look at the start of the season, I'd say they were the 2 favourites.
And in terms of like the state they're in and this run into this game, how would you compare the 2 teams there?
Now this is where it starts getting a little bit interesting, doesn't it? So I think Wigan are in a better place than Hull KR at the minute. And if I'd have gone back to like the middle of the season or even a couple of months back, I would have said Hull KR are in a better place. I mean, they're both playing well. I'm not saying that Hull KR aren't playing well, but I think Wigan are seem a little bit more dangerous at the minute.
Yeah, they definitely do, and seem like they don't have much in the way of injury issues either. They just seem to have players that are just outstanding in depth and are going to do really well like that. look at Hull KR, Mickey Mack, we don't know whether he's going to be playing. He's still kind of on the sideline.
It has to be worth mentioning at this point. We record the show on a Monday morning, so we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know
what the squads are or anything at this point in time, yeah.
Yeah, JWH, I've already mentioned, a bit of a disciplinary thing there. Unlikely that he's going to take to the field, again, which is a shame, and there's a lot of, strength in the middle there. And then Artemog limped off at the weekend, so who knows if he's going to be playing as well. And that throws up this question, which we've asked a couple of times this year, is who's going to feature at fullback for Hull KR?
Yeah, I don't really know. We Morg being who filled in before? With Davis.
I think Tom Davis did, didn't he?
With Broadbent in there at one point.
Broadbent can play a game there.
Yeah.
Mikey Lewis, of course, although
no
you
chance.
would not move him out of the arse.
No chance Mikey Lewis is going to be playing at fullback. No. We don't know. Morg might be fit, and I hope he is actually, because Morg's one of those players this year for Hull KR. He's gone up levels this year playing under Willie Peters.
Yeah, he has. So it's really, really interesting. In terms of identity, Wigan have got this identity. All 4 trophies last year, right? Took Hull KR and beat them at the grand final last year. It's their identity that they are winners. Hull KR, the up-and-coming young studs. All right, they've picked up a couple of trophies this year already, but this is the big dance. And they've lost out. They only just narrowly won the Challenge Cup, didn't they? So I'm wondering, what part identity and mindset is going to play in this game.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because if you're the team that's won 2 of the trophies on offer already this year, then really you should be going, right, well, they're the favourites. They're favourites to win the grand final. But there's this thing with Wigan, is that their identity is that they win the big games, don't they?
Yeah.
They win grand finals. Wigan win grand finals. They know how to, on the biggest stage of them all, when the most pressure is on, they've got this way about them. I don't know if it's culture. I've spoken about this a few times. I don't know if it's culture within the club or what, but yeah, it's interesting that I think both me and you are saying a little bit at the minute. It's we think Wigan are slight favourites. I don't know what the bookies have gotten, by the way.
Don't know. I would say Hull KR are probably the underdogs going into this game.
Or would you say they're evens?
No, I don't think they're evens at the minute. You've only got to look. You just go on
It's just because Hull KR haven't got one over the line yet, have they? I suppose if Hull KR win this year's grand final, and then we're looking at these 2 teams next year, then maybe you'd say actually the guard's changed at that point. But yeah, it's because they haven't got one over the line yet, and it's all good and well winning a Challenge Cup, and Challenge Cup's an amazing trophy to win. League Leaders Shield, amazing, most consistent side over the whole 27 rounds. But yeah, when it just comes to that grand final, there's something just a little bit different there. It's a little bit more pressure.
Well, Harry Smith was talking about the run up to the grand final, and what he enjoyed about it. He was talking about the day before they go to the stadium to take it all in, because on the day you want to be thinking about rugby. But I don't think you can completely just focus on your game. The crowd, the noise, the occasion just hits you, and you can either ride it and use it as fuel, or it starts to intimidate you. Now, one of the questions that we had in our set 6 this week is that a Hull KR fan said that Hull KR are not the same team when it's wet. Right, they start to play a more reserved game. They don't throw the ball around. So it only takes something like the weather, like the occasion, to change how they play, and it doesn't matter how consistent they've been, because now they're playing as a different side that doesn't suit them.
Yeah, and I sort of said to you in the other show, didn't I, that we had these conditions at the Challenge Cup final, and it was a big leveler actually, because if you look at Hull KR and you look at Warrington as they went into that Challenge Cup final, Hull KR were clear favourites. Warrington weren't having a great season. They'd managed to stumble away to the Challenge Cup final. They'd had a couple of good wins, hadn't they? Got them there. But Hull KR were clear favourites going into that Challenge Cup final. And actually, on the day, there was nothing between the 2 sides, and it went down. Well, it went down to millimetres, didn't it? Literally, and actually, the weather played a factor in that decision. So, I think you're right. I think the weather could be. It could change how Hull KR play, because they like to play that. I often think when Hull KR are most dangerous is the midfield. You're not expecting something from them, and they play a little bit expansive, and they go down the short side, and Mikey Lewis puts that little step on and fending it, and he attacks the line when you're not quite expecting it. But I think you're right. When on a really wet pitch, they might not play that style of rugby, and it's interesting that Hull KR fan did bring that up.
Yeah, so obviously it boils down to our opinion now, Karl. We need to make a bit of a shout at who we think is going to win.
Well, should we look at a couple of the key matchups? I've often said to you, on a grand final, the teams can be evenly matched, and there's only one moment that swings a grand final one way or another. So should we pick out a couple of players, one or two players on each side, that we think could just be the game changer and turn it on its head?
But it's just not going to be the same record playing as, for Wigan. It's the same. It's the same players, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, we can just mention them now, can't we? Like, everybody's talking about him. Bevan French, best player in Super League, in my opinion, and I think it's hard to argue against that. And it could come down to a bit of brilliance from him.
Well, chances are it will come down to a bit of brilliance from him, or it'll be a bit of brilliance from him,
or his
supported by
or
Jay
his mate
Field.
at fullback.
Yeah, who just is like running at a different pace compared to everybody else, or so it seems. And not just in attack and defence as well, as was seen in the semi-final. So yeah, them two are going to be outstanding, especially if Hull KR haven't got Artem Org at the back in the full-back role.
Yeah.
Who do they put in there? How do they nullify those players? We saw Alex Walmsley go to work on Mikey Lewis in the semi-final, didn't we? And he's trying to niggle him, and he's trying to put a lot of work on his plate. And I think it did kind of quieten him down a little bit. So if they can do something similar, the like of Sam Walters, who's another big body, any one of the big forwards putting pressure on him is going to.
I think these two forward packs cancel each other out.
Yeah,
I think they'll cancel.
So
each other.
So obviously we've spoke about Bevan French and Jay Field. Where's the difference then? If
again, I'm going to throw another obvious name up here. I think if Hull KR are to win this game, probably Mikey Lewis pulls something out of the bag. Joe Burgess supporting him. I think they're the areas that see the game won. I'd just give Wigan the edge, even if it boils down to penalties as well.
Are we both going Wigan then for the grand final?
I think so.
As much as it pains us.
No, yeah, I'd love to see a new name on that Super League trophy, and I think for the sport, and I think Hull KR can do it. But if you're asking me, in my opinion, who I think is going to win this grand final, I think Wigan just edge it.
Which is incredible, because not too long ago we were like, Wigan just start firing. Matty Pete's taking it in his stride, but the Wigan fans aren't taking it in the stride. And here we are, business end of the season, and they're in pole position again. So it's mental, really.
Yeah.
By the way, whilst we're talking about the grand final, Karl, obviously we are going to be there. We're going to be hopefully creating an alternative view of the day, which we'd hope you'll join us to view, and hope the stars align and we can get that done. So, what apart from the game on the pitch, what are you looking forward to, Karl?
The same thing I always really enjoy when it comes to final days is just all the fans mingling, and I really love that hour or two before the game where the fans are all in the pubs and they're singing songs and flags are flying, and for me that's the best thing about rugby league.
Do you think you'll be orchestrating a riot like you did at the Challenge Cup final again?
It was only a mini riot, wasn't it? It was Hull KR fans actually, wasn't it? So, yeah, anyway, we're about to keep our heads down.
So we will be there. If we do see you, please come and say hello. We love speaking to people and catching up.
Tell us our predictions are shocking.
Well, it really is the best day of the Super League season, so we're really looking forward to it. Make sure you check out the set of six. Anything else, Karl, to finish off with?
I'll just check out the set of six this week. It's a mega show this week in the set six. We've got the Ashes team announced. We talk about the Radlinski Beaumont Spa. There's just so much in the set six this week. Absolute cracker of a show.
Right, until the next video, take care.